Okay, guys, I hope everyone is doing well. I know you can't see me in this video, and that might be a bit of a bummer, but you don't need to see me for this one, and I'll probably be back tomorrow with something else. Today, we are here to show you how Davinci Resolve works, start to finish. This is an amazing editor. There's other options. You might have something else you're already using. If that's the case, then power to you. Not to say that Davinci is necessarily way better than anything else, but it's really great and it's free. So that's why I'm going to recommend it to everyone. And this is what I'm using. I have very limited experience with Final Cut Pro, and I've never even opened Premiere. So unfortunately, you have to YouTube other channels to figure that stuff out. So where do we start? Davinci Resolve. Go to blackmagicdesign.com or just Google it. Davinci Resolve comes in two versions. So Davinci Resolve Studio is the paid version, and Davinci Resolve Free is the one that we're after. I just want to make sure that we are recording audio. Yes, we are. Okay. We got a bit of a thunderstorm, but that's okay. We've got our audio. Perfect. So we are going to click on the free download now. So it's as simple as that. It's literally right here. And then it's going to take you over here to your project. Now, I'll take you through a new project first. I have a list of things I want to show you, but when you open it, you call it a name. So let's call this one test. Can't spell. And hopefully my computer doesn't bog down too much here. I'm using a MacBook, but recording audio, recording the screen, and running an editor might be a lot. So what's going to happen the first time you try to import clips, and I'll show you this in a second, but there's a lot of different ways to navigate this. And as always, I would say Casey Ferris is a great resource. Casey Ferris is, again, the name. That's YouTube. Awesome channel. That's where I've learned everything. And he has a great point. If you're new to Davinci and you're not sure what to do, it basically comes in modules. So you have this media storage area, then you have a cut page, then you have your edit page. We're going to stay on the edit page for almost everything. I honestly never used the first two. I'm sure for bigger projects, they probably make a lot more sense. But for small stuff here, you can do everything in edit. Fusion, I don't know anything about Fusion. This is where you're going to make graphic designs, like you want to have floating text or things like that, do something cool. You would program it here, but again, that's a whole other world. We will use this one a little bit. This is your color page. Fairlight, this is your audio page. I'll probably spend a minute showing you this, but you probably won't need to use that much. And then you've got your export page. And you can export also from the edit page, but I like how this works. So the big thing you want to know about Davinci Resolve is it's typically all those different modules. Usually you have to stop playing a video to switch between them, and you're going to go to different ones to do different things. So if you want to like color correct something, rather than crowding your screen, you just click on the color tab, and now you'll have all that stuff. So from the edit page, most of them are going to be the same. You have your media pool, and you can turn these on and off. So media pool, it's as simple as it is. You could drag and drop, or you can go up to File and click Import. Or you could even just right-click and say Import Media. So let's just bring in these three. So it's always going to ask you this, change project frame rate. Now, this is probably the first thing I should have researched before I made this video, because I still don't really know about this. The project is going to typically default to 24 frames per second, and that's usually what I'm going to do. So I'm usually saying don't change, because I don't want to change the frame rate of my timeline as far as I can tell. Now, what's going to happen is when you drag a clip down, it'll create a new timeline for you and take it a step further, which I'll show you in a second. But if you come down here to your home button, this little house, this is going to show you all your projects, a few things I'm working on, a couple things I've done. This is where you can kind of go back through storage. And then the gear icon. So you can see I'm working in a 1080 timeline. Now, you can always change this later. You could change this to 4K like at the end before you export, so I'll do that. But you have to make sure if you're using 4K footage, you're going to have to drop it down to 4K at least by the time you export. And there's a couple other things we'll do here later, but you can see it's 24 frames per second, so that's pretty important. So you want to know what's going on with your frames per second. Again, if I'm wrong, please leave a note if there's something I'm missing about why you'd want to change your frames per second. I'm sure there's lots of reasons, but anyway, I'm not sure how they work. So you see there's nothing here. There's no timeline. So when I drag my first clip, it's going to drop. It's going to show up right here, and now it's created a timeline. And you can have multiple timelines in the same session. So let's say you wanted to do different things. You can switch between them up here. You can go to timeline. Where do you add a new timeline? Oh, and maybe if you right click, yeah. So if you right click over here, that's where I usually do it. Just create new timeline. Davinci is pretty intuitive in these ways, so we'll come back to this. So media pool, you just click it on and off, and this is something you always want to know. Like it's usually just going to hide or show what you're showing. So it depends on your screen. If you're on a big screen, you might have everything up all the time. Effects, this is great. This is going to be very straightforward. So you want video transitions. You want to blur between clips, just drag and drop. Audio transitions, cross-fading music. Titles, so I use these a lot. This is the one you would... So I'll show you a title. So you just drag a title, you drag and drop it. Look how easy it is. So I'll come back to this stuff. Again, I got to stop saying that where I'm going to come back. But this is how essentially you open things, and you're just going to move your media around. Sound library, I don't have anything downloaded, although now that I see that might be cool. We'll do that later, though. And different edits. I've never used this, so I do everything between here. There's a few ways you can cut. This is not meant to be comprehensive, just showing you a basic workflow in less than an hour, how you can get up and running video. Excuse me. Then over here, your inspector is the most important part. Mixer, that's for sound and things like that. Your metadata, I'm almost never using that. I'm just using inspector, and this is going to have everything you need. This looks kind of scary, but you just drag and drop. So if you see the clip, where's the moment? So like here's the bald eagle. So if I want to zoom, I just drag. You can type this in too, but I'm just dragging here to pull it in or dragging to pull it out. And if you want to fit this back to normal, just click up here and we'll click. Oh, sorry. Just click fit. Sorry, it's not doing that because of my zoom. There you go. And you can always reset. So let's say I zoom way out and I'm not sure where it was. Just reset. Little reset button. So that's handy. Zooming. Oh, these are linked. That's why. So if you unlink them, you can warp or you can stretch. So what if a bald eagle was like real wide? You're usually going to want to link your zoom axes. So reset. Position's really useful. So let's imagine you zoom, and then you want to like move where the bald eagle is in the frame, because now you've got more frames you've moved in, right? So you want to put it over here. You want to put it over here. So that's really useful, especially if you're trying to make a video where you're showing still images, right? You might want to do something like that. So you can move it around. Rotation angle. So I use this all the time. So let's say you're filming something and your horizon's crooked and you need to straighten it out. You can do this. So that's a good one. Now, if you're doing that, you might want to add bars to the top. There's a couple ways to do that. Probably, let's see here. If we're going to rotate like that. Let's go like this. There we go. So if you click retain image, so for example, if you take that off, you can't really see. This isn't a great clip to do it with. Let's just see here. Let's reset all this stuff. What have I got crooked? Oh, here we go, rotation angle. So if, let's say, so here's your bird, and let's say you've got him crooked like this. So you can see, because I haven't zoomed, you can see that it's starting to mess this up in your frame. So an easy way to fix that, sorry, I'm scrolling up here. So an easy way to fix that, for one, is if you zoom in, that's going to go away. But another way we could do it is we could just crop the top and the bottom. Now, to do that, you need to retain image position, or it's going to crop the footage. So I want it to hold tight and then crop straight down like that. And then we would crop up from the bottom. And then, maybe I would zoom just a bit to get rid of the sides, because I don't want black bars on the sides. So I would probably zoom just enough to get rid of those. And now we've got a full picture. So on a Mac, Command F is your full screen, and there is my bald eagle that's zoomed in a little bit. Now, as we showed in the other videos, one of the interesting things about video is your image quality. So looking here, this would not make a great still. It's not detailed. The scene's not that interesting. But if you want to watch the bird, and you wanted to see him fly, I was also in the boat, so we're pretty shaky. You might want to see more of a scene, as we've talked about before. Sometimes you want to have a wider video, which I think is really interesting. So let me flip into my other project here where we've already done some work. This is something that I am working on. I want to load this. Okay, here we are. So this is a project I'm actually working on, and I'll show you some things that are going to happen in here. So we've learned about frames per second. We've learned how to import media. Now let's learn how to cut media. So before we do that, actually, let's learn a little bit about navigation. So one thing I love about Resolve is your zoom here. So zoom in, out. This is great. So let's say I'm zoomed all the way in and you want to zoom out. You just click this one here. That's going to show you the whole project. Let's say I'm over here and I want to zoom in where my playhead is. You just click this one and it zooms you in there. I actually don't even know what this one does. Zooms in more, it looks like. I don't know. I don't use that one. I use this to zoom out and this to zoom in where I am. Your playhead's going to be super useful because you just drag it around to wherever you want to be working. I'll show you the titles there in a second. But let's try this. So we're going to add the clip. Now, a couple of things you'll see over here. And I'm only going to show you again what I know how it works. That's one way to add a clip to your media is just drag it. Another thing you could do, so let's go over here. So let's zoom in a bit. Let's zoom out. So let's say I'm working in these clips and I want to add something right between these clips, but I don't want to have to drag and drop. Like if I just try to put this here, it's going to go over, right? See how it's deleting part of that video? So if I want to put it in between, you can click this little guy and that will insert it into there rather than put it over top. So that's really handy. All of your, so Command Z is to undo all that normal stuff that works in other programs. So let's go back to this clip we were working on over here. All right. So we're playing our clip. We've got the Osprey. Actually, you know what? This is a bad clip. I'm going to show you a different example of something I actually would cut. And before I do that, I want to show you two more tools. These tutorials will get better over time, a little less scattered. So the green is our audio. The blue is our video. You can see right now, this is unsyncing the audio. That's typically going to be a problem. So you want this little link. And now they're linked. Sometimes you have to highlight them, I think, to link. I'm not sure exactly when. But conversely, let's say you just wanted the clip of the Osprey and you've got music playing and you don't want to hear what's going on in the back, but you can't delete it because you have to unlink it. So now that it's unlinked, I can just delete the audio on its own. The other thing I would say, this little magnet icon. So, for example, here's my playhead. It means it's going to stick to places. So let's say my playhead's here and the magnet is turned on. I'm going to link. So now it just like snaps right there. If I don't have this, it's not going to snap. I can move it around. So I like the magnet. I usually leave it on for most things that I'm doing. But if it's being a bit of a headache or a pain, you can turn it off, depending on what you need to do. And then for cutting, there's a couple of ways that we'll cut. So that's what we're going to do. So I actually am in the habit now of cutting with the playhead. So I use Command B. I've gotten really into using a mouse with my right hand and then just hotkeys here rather than clicking. You can use this. You can use different trim features or the blade. So this is going to give you a blade and you can cut exactly right where it is. Again, sometimes if the magnet's there, you might find it tricky to get the cut right where you want. So you might have to turn the magnet off. But I don't know. This is the way I like using. So I will play. So here's an example. So we're going to play the clip. That's cool, but you can see how shaky it is. It's distracting. Now here is when I think it starts being okay. So I've stopped it and my playhead stays right here. I'm going to hit Command B. I think on a Mac, on a PC, I think it's Control B. But I'm not sure on that. But look it up, your hotkeys. There's lots of places to look those up. And I'm going to hit the cut. And now you can see this and this are separate. So they're also, we'll turn on our magnet so they'll snap back together. You can see they're snapping. So now I can delete this. So you can either delete it, or a big one is you can do a slip delete. If you hold Shift delete, it'll move all that over. So we'll show you again how that works as we put together the rest of this edit. But that's going to give you the idea how to move clips in and how to actually edit them and how to get rid of some audio. All right, so let's actually start working on this, and then we'll go as we go. Now it's funny, I'm making this little video here about video and getting into video with my friend Due to the Fuji, and he just texted me how much he hates video. So I think he might need a little tutorial here. Maybe he's editing and grumpy. So in this case, we're going to sync audio. I don't know how much you'll be doing of this, but I thought I'd show you. It's really useful. I recorded this so that you can see this is what came out of the camera. And then this is the audio the camera recorded, but it's not great. This is the audio that my audio recorder, my Zoom, recorded. So if I want to sync these, I don't have to try to match them up manually. I'll just highlight them. I'm going to go to Clip. You're going to say Auto Align Clips based on waveform. It analyzes, and bam. Now I'm going to unlink the clips and just delete the audio I don't want. And there we are. Now I'm not getting any sound because I am recording and have it coming out that way. But that's how we sync audio. Okay, so another big thing, how do we add text? So like I said, you're going to go up to this Effects tab in the upper left, and you're going to drag titles. Now I have a couple cool ones, these Fusion titles that I bought from Casey Ferris. This is actually really cheap. I think it was like, I don't know, I think it was $100 US or something, but it came with a ton of stuff and they look really good. So he shows you how to program this stuff on your own if you want, but I don't want to learn all that stuff right now. So let's say we want it. We'll just drag and drop it here. All the same principles apply. Now you say, well, how do I put text? So you're going to come up here to your inspector, and we're going to type text test. Now remember, whatever's highlighted in red is what you're working on, but you don't see it because the playhead wasn't there. So now that we put the playhead, text test. There we go. Now, what if we wanted to change some settings, and whether they're the ones from Casey or even, let's use a basic one. Let's go to, so this is my favorite, left lower third. I don't know, I just like this one. I usually so there's two, right? There's the title and the sample. I usually come down and delete this one, and then I usually just type what I want here. So text, test, and you can go down a line, test again, test one more time. Okay. Now, what else can we do? So we want to change the color. It's that easy. I don't know. Let's go bright red. And we want font. We got to have impact for the font. That's, oh, sorry, I didn't hit OK. Gonna go over here. Gonna go impact. Bam. Let's go size. Let's make her bigger. Whoa. Pretty good. And font styles, alignments, all that stuff. Position. So again, as we learned before, you just drag your position cues back and forth. If we needed to zoom, you want that at an angle. Beautiful. And now it'll play. We're going to play our clip. We're talking full screen. Oh, play. Where's our text? Where's our text? It's coming. It's coming. I think it's coming. Oh, I'm way too far back. Here we go. My computer's doing a lot. It's getting confused. Here we go. See? Okay, we're bogging down. But it works that easy. So that's how you add text. Now you can add those clips wherever you want. So obviously your title generators, there's a lot here. You're going to control them all the same way. And if you buy additional titles from someone who's made them, essentially what they're doing is they're going into here, Fusion, and they're programming all these things that are going to happen. So you can learn how to program all this stuff yourself if you're so inclined and you use the tools here. I know nothing. I've never clicked one button in here. Someday I will learn. But if you don't want to do that, if you just say, hey, I want, so how did we start this video? So I start this. Again, it's lagging, and this stuff pops up. There's my title. A couple other things we can do. So let's say I want that text to pop a bit more. I want this to fade in. How do you fade? You just grab these little handles. You just move them around like this. How do I change the audio? I just come down here until I get this sign, and then I just drag my audio. What if I wanted to fade in the audio? I'm just going to do it like that. Pretty easy. You can change the size of the tracks, drag and drop here. So that works very well as well. Now what if you want to transition between a video? So let's come over here. So I haven't really dove into this edit yet, but I want to have some of these videos overlay. So let's show you how that works. Now sometimes we're going to have to do some weird stuff here. So we're going to right click here and we're going to add a track. And we're going to add, let's add a stereo track, I guess. And we're going to move that track up. And we're going to move this track down for now. And actually, you know what? I'm going to move that track back down. So your rule of thumb is whatever is going to display on top is going to be what you see. So for example, if I drag this clip of a bird, so we're playing, I've got my interview, got the interview playing, and then, sorry for the delay, and then it cuts to the, look at that beautiful slow motion bald eagle. That's pretty nice, right? That's nice. So what if you wanted this to be in a different position? Well, again, we could zoom out. So when you do those you're doing a picture in picture, you just zoom and then move it down here maybe. What if I wanted to like move it over here? So now this is playing as this is playing. Now this is going to start bogging down your system potentially, depending on your computer. And there are ways to use proxies, it's called. Now, I'm not going to get into this because I haven't done enough research on it, and there's a lot of good videos on how proxies work. But essentially, proxies are going to use like lower res copies of the video, so you can actually your computer can edit it and not die. So let's reset all that stuff, and then I'm going to show you how transitions work. So let's grab another clip and drag them over. You see it snapped there because it's magnetic. And let's go with the old, let's do a cross dissolve. See if that worked here. Okay, so you just drag it where you want it. You drag your transition. I can see it's going to work because it's there. There, oh, beautiful, beautiful. So your video transitions, like we said, are here. Another big thing that I think is useful. So let's import some media. I just need a still photo. So let's say I had this photo. So let's say I drag him down and I have the photo here. You might need more video tracks because remember, well, now I've got a track for this, but I want my text probably on another track, and then I might want my other videos on another track. You can have the same stuff on the same track sometimes, but it's probably cleaner to have multiple. So we go up here, and you can see the photo doesn't work. And this is all about aspect ratio. So cameras are usually shooting in a 3:2 aspect ratio, but our video is not doing the same. So you have a couple of options how you want to treat this. So you could zoom, but now you're maybe degrading your image quality, and that might not be your composition. Or what I like to do is you can take a generator, and you can just put it behind it. So you might want another, actually we're not going to use that one. I like to use just a solid color. Zoom in a little so we can see what we're doing. Let's just like put our playhead here, and we'll match these up. So now when we're playing, it's going to put black behind it, or maybe we want this to do white. So I've actually never changed the color of this, but again, logically thinking, I just asked myself, where would I change it? And the first place I look, Inspector. That's where you change everything, always up here. Let's just click on black. Let's put it to white. And actually, what if I wanted the fox to be more like that? So now it's more displaying. It's displaying a little more like a kind of a gallery shot. So we're talking, pops up. Actually, I like that a lot more than black. And then it goes back. How do you change your length? Well, that's pretty simple. You just click and drag. So you want to hover. There's different things of where, and again, so if you can see this is going to change the side. Usually, like if you have two clips beside, it'll drag them into each other. Or if you have one, you just hover over until you get that little symbol, and then that's how you move. Now, here, I might want to link these because I want that white background traveling the same. So you see how the principle comes out. So we're getting near the end. A couple other things I want to show you. So let's go back to this Osprey clip. You see he's bouncing around. You want to stabilize. You're just going to come up to your inspector, and there's stabilization. It's literally you click that button and it'll do it. There's a couple options here. Again, you can Google your choice between the three. Camera lock is interesting. It's going to try to put it on a tripod. It might take some time. Let's see. This is a short clip, so remember the length of the clip will depend. Sometimes you're going to have to play around with image quality and see if you're happy with how it does it or how it presents. Camera lock's going to zoom in to try to get rid of some of that shakiness. So sometimes it works really, really well. Sometimes it doesn't work so hot, so you're going to have to see. Rule that we follow, again, is you're shooting on tripods, but if you had to shoot handheld or, if you were in the boat sometimes. In this case, I don't think it did a great job, and actually I think it might have warped No, it just zoomed in. But this is how you turn effects on and off, and again, if you want to get rid of it, you just hit the refresh button, so that's nice and easy. How do we sharpen? So now we're going to go over into the color panel, because that's another big thing we talked about before, is shooting in log footage. So there's basically 2 or 3 more things I want to show you. So if you shot in a camera profile and your stuff already looks good, let's say like Matt and I here, this was shot in log, but I've already treated it. But if you go over here to let's say the loon, so this has not been treated yet. So what you do, there's 2 ways to do this, and I'll show you. So if you're in log, you're going to come down to the gear. You're going to go over to color management. Now, when you first come in, it's going to look like this. So you're going to change this to color managed, and then it's going to have a checkbox here, but I would actually get rid of this. I learned this on someone's channel, and I like this way. Get rid of it, and then bring this down to HDR Davinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. That's what I've been using. Again, I'm not saying this is the way to do it. This is what I've been using, and I'm liking it so far. And then your output you don't need to change. So once you've got that done, you're hitting save, and that's telling the system that this is how you want to treat color. The reason this clip hasn't changed is because I need to tell it, well, how should we be handling that? So you're going to right click, and then you're going to come down to input color space, and you're going to pick what you use. So I'm shooting Fuji. I shot in F-Log, and look at that. You can see as soon as we did that, it's made a massive impact on our colors. Now, what if you want to do that to all the clips? You could just highlight them all. So you can hold shift, or even if you're on one clip, you could just do Command A. That'll get rid of everything. And some, like for example, this picture, I might not want it to be flagged. How do you do? There is a way. I forget to do this. Oh, here we go. So if you don't want this to be included, let's say you've got multiple cameras, you just click bypass color management, and that will skip the whole process. So that's easy to do. So I'm going to tell them all, I want you to treat all of them as F-Log. And now it's going to hit the whole thing. Now, there's one other way to do this. You can come up here to, now you have effects up here. And again, you can go look at Casey's thing to learn about nodes, but nodes are how you stack effects when you're using color. So if you're using color effects, you're going to type color space transform. You're going to drag that onto your node. And now you're going to basically use the same thing. You're going to have your input. So like I would use Davinci Wide Gamut. I would use Fuji, and then Rec 709 for our output. That's your most common output you're going to want to use across the board. But I'd prefer to do it the other way and just have this like this, because this is way faster and easier to work with. So that's as easy as it is. You just go here, and you have to do this at the start of a session, but you're going to change this to color managed. You're going to unclick the box, change that to intermediate, and then you're just going to go into your color tab. You have to do it in color as far as I know, and you're going to right click and come down to input color space, and then pick your camera. Now, most cameras will probably be on here. I think they're, you know, like Nikon N-Log. There's a couple different Canons. I'm sure there's, yeah, so here's all your S-Logs for Sony. So, I mean, you know, everything should be in there. And, I mean, you can always change it around, too, if you don't like it. But then you're going to get over here. We have two options for, and I'm not even going to get into scopes, but there's two things you could do with a clip. So if you want to turn any of this stuff off, let's say these are all in the way, clips, turn them off, or timeline, that shows you where on the timeline, so you can turn that off, make that a bit bigger. So let's say we want to drop our shadows. Well, curves, if you're a photographer, I assume you know how to use your curves. So maybe you drop that and bring your highlights up a bit. So here's how you can work there. That's one option. Or here, offset, this is your total kind of exposure. Gain is more your highlights. Gamma is going to be in between your mids, and then shadows is going to be your lift. And then obviously your contrast, you can dial that up, or your saturation, or a lot of times what I'll do, if we go back to Matt and I, that's a little green for me, so I might like pull it a smidge magenta. So offset, again, you're hitting the whole clip. So if it was just like the shadows or something, maybe you'd change it a different way. A lot of times in my studio, when I'm doing these YouTube videos, they tend to be a little warm, a little orangey. So I'll just drag it a little bit blue. I mean, this is where people get into trouble when they do like this, right? These moves, if you look at these, like we're talking like bare movements, just to a point you're happy. I'm not going to get into how to color grade because I have no idea. But if you want to say, how do I take basic LUT footage, basic log footage, and make it look decent, that's how you do it. You're going to apply this color space transform, and you're telling the system how to actually look at your footage. Like, what do you want it to do? And see the difference? If we go in and bypass that, that's what the log looks like out of camera. And I think this is a big thing for me, because when I got into this, color grading footage was like really scary. I got unchecked that. It was really scary, and I didn't know how to make my footage look good, but I wanted to shoot it in log and make sure I had the dynamic range. Makes it a lot easier maybe to like bring out some detail in his head or get rid of these shadows. And again, so now let's go back to edit. Like, he's crooked to me, so what can we do? We've learned how to do this. So we're going to rotation angle. So I like that. Let's zoom in just a bit. And all of a sudden, that's looking a lot better. He's no longer crooked. He's color corrected. Nice. And that actually, it's pretty good. I was tracking him on the tripod. So feeling pretty good about that. Sharpening. You would do that here as well. You're going to do it here. I believe it's radius. Maybe not. Maybe it's scaling. Maybe not. Oh, here we go. So you have to, this is how you turn things on and off. So everything you do is happening in this node. So you can see now that it's turned on. So radius is giving me, yeah, so it's in radius. So if I like bring my radius down a bunch, you can see that doesn't look good, but it is applying things, right? So where were we normally? We're at 50. So let's say I bring it down a little bit. So that is sharpening things up a bit. Now it's tough to sharpen because his head's out of focus there. So what if we bring him back to here? So that does look a little bit sharper. What if you went the other way? What if you went up to like 55? Now the whole image is softer. So essentially, this is how you're going to do things. Again, if you're interested in sharpening, watch a full YouTube video on how it works. But this is the idea in here now, and it might even be Let's see. I haven't played much around with changing these, but I'm sure changing between blur and sharpen is going to make a difference as well. I almost never sharpen video footage, but when I do, this is a good way to do it. So again, I'm just showing you the tip of the iceberg. I'm not saying this is right. This is the bare minimums that I have learned. When you're done and you're ready to export, because I think that's probably about everything. Let's see, we've learned about timelines, importing, cutting, separating audio, syncing audio, adding text, transitions, cropping, rotating, stabilizing, sharpening, using all this stuff. And then your exposure and coloring. Yeah, that's using your curves, same as in any editor. So then you're going to, how do you get rid of it? So you're going to come over here. I like the export tab, and depends where you want. It does a really good job at like exporting it for the place that you want it to be used. So assuming you're going to put on YouTube, just use YouTube and it's going to automatically like set it up for the right compression. Now remember, you want to decide like how high res you want to export it. A lot of, if I'm just doing a talking head video that's just an opinion piece, I might do that in 1080 to save space. If I'm doing like a piece with a lot of footage that I shot in 4K and I want to show it in 4K, I'll do that here. But remember, you're going to need to make sure your timeline up here, master settings, make sure your timeline is in 4K Ultra HD if you want to properly export, because otherwise it's going to up-res everything. So you're going to name it, you're going to say test video, you're going to add it to the render queue, it's going to show you where it's going to save, you're going to save it, it's going to put it over here, and then I usually only render one job at a time. You click render, and that's done. And if you can do all that, then you can make a video. My hope for you is if you got through this video, then I think you will hopefully have enough in how long did this take us here? I don't know. I can't even see how long we're at. But however long this has been, this should have shown you enough to be able to dive in and actually make a video, and hopefully it'll let you know like what questions you need to learn. Resolve, like, I mean, this is industry standard software for working on movies and everything. So, I mean, don't be overwhelmed when you're watching these tutorials. And that's why I wanted to show you this specifically, because if you're my audience, you're probably into wildlife, and you're probably thinking, well, hey, I have a little bit of an interest in video, but I remember the first time I opened up Resolve and I'm clicking around, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what have I gotten into? I have no idea. So I want you to know that you can do almost everything. You basically can do everything right from this little page. And here's where you click, here's the stuff you're looking for, and don't worry about the stuff that you don't know how it works. I just made a tutorial not knowing how almost any of it works, but it's enough that I can get videos out that are working for me. And then I try to set my little stretch goals for myself. I try to learn one new feature every time I do a video. I try to incorporate something new. You can get into something called keyframes, which is where you start automating. So see all these little diamonds? That's basically automating. So let's say I wanted to zoom in on the loon, but instead of just being full stop, full zoom, I wanted it to zoom gradually. You would do that with keyframes. But again, that's a story for another video. Let's just take it slow. Take your footage in the field slow. Get some simple stuff. And before you start trying to do, 30-minute documentaries with multiple parts and titles and transitions, let's make like a 2-minute little thing with a, like I said in the last example, go film a bird in your yard, get a couple shots, come in here and learn how to cut it together. If you shot it in log footage, learn how to convert the color, change your shadows, add a little contrast, and then, if you want to add a title, robin on the yard, and then export it. Give it yourself a little test video, and then let's see. If you make any, drop me a link below. I would love to see your videos. And if you have any cool tips, again, specifically for what I'm doing and my audience here on the wildlife side, if there's something I did wrong that's useful for me to know, I am open to learning. So thanks, guys, for the support. And yeah, this has been important to me. I wanted to get these 3 videos out about how to get started, because now I can refer people back to these, and in the future we can start getting a little more creative and start really tackling the meat and potatoes of wildlife videography. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you soon.